President Bashar al-Assad are the latest victims of Syria's brutal civil war. State media say a car bomb targeting buses full of civilians was disguised as a shipment of food. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says at least 43 people have been killed.
Some of the pictures being circulated by Syrian state TV and on social media of the aftermath here really are just absolutely horrifying. This explosion, it appears, hit people who are inside buses, moving, people perhaps trying to get onto those buses, pictures of dismembered women and children in states of disrepair leaning out of those buses. Now, give me some context for this, because this movement of people was a very key moment, frankly, for, you might say, the future of the Syrian civil war. A lot of the issues here, of course, involve sectarian nature of violence, the Syrian regime being predominantly Shia, a lot of Shia supporters, and many of the rebels predominantly being Sunni. Now, this was trying to evacuate two towns called Foua and Kefraya that are in the Idlib province, which is predominantly held by rebels. Some of them, in fact, are actually quite extremist. Some, in fact, are said to be linked to Al-Qaeda. Now, Foua and Kefraya have been besieged for quite some time, but also, too, in the south of the country, had other towns being besieged by the regime. They were called Madaya and Zabadani. Now, a plan brokered by the United Nations involved a kind of swap. So people would be let go of one besieged town, besieged by rebels, those two towns in the north, Foua and Kefraya, but at the same time, in the south, Madaya and Zabadani, sort of encircled by the regime, they too would be allowed to let some people out. Now, we're talking really in Foua and Kefraya about 8,000 people in total, 3,000 supposed to be on the move today, so that's an awful lot of people moving around. And of course, there'd been ceasefires agreed to allow safe passage. What seems to have happened is, as some of these buses were leaving, and it's not quite clear exactly who was in control or beginning to become in control of the area where the blast hit, but as they moved, that is when the car bomb appears to have struck this convoy. But we have since heard that the evacuation process is continuing despite this, you would say, hiccup but disastrous moment in it, punctuating it. And you should bear in mind, this sort of bodes, you might say, better for the future of Syria if these besieged towns are allowed to let people out, but it more broadly suggests that there's a sort of a kind of way of permanently changing the ethnic and demographic map of the country, given that Sunnis are leaving areas sort of surrounded by Shia, and Shia leaving areas that are predominantly Sunni, the country sort of splitting in two. But these horrifying scenes today, just another sign, frankly, of the kind of savagery that's marked this war. This, it seems, regime-friendly populations being slaughtered. Of course, rebel-friendly populations have received the wrath of the regime on a daily basis, but none of that detracts from the sheer horror of these pictures and the brutality of that car bomb, Linda.